I actually did get a phone call before worship service asking someone asking about whether or not we're canceling worship. And that's always seemed like a very peculiar phrase to me, cancel worship. You know, worship it's like we bring it here. And that's not what happens, is it? You know, worship is something we come to encounter that God brings to us. Isn't that right? Say amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we can't cancel it. And I knew that folks would be showing up anyway, so I'm just going to be here every Sunday. That's my policy. Yeah, good to remind people. I don't recommend you go out in weather like this, but if you're going to come out anyway, I'm going to be here to worship with you. And God will bring the worship. How does that sound? You know, here's a question I have for today. As we're approaching Christmas, you probably think about this. But you want to know one of the big differences between Jesus and Santa Claus? What's the difference between Jesus and Santa Claus?
Tell us, Pastor.
Okay. The difference between Jesus and Santa Claus is that Jesus gives you the gift first, and then he looks to see whether you're being naughty or nice, right? Jesus gives you the gift first, and then watches what we do with it. We've been talking about what the baby Jesus needs. And what he needed on that when he first arrived on this earth. So I've been kind of reviewing this list every week. And about how God gave Jesus everything he needs. Parents to love him, people to celebrate him, angels to protect him. 2 weeks ago I pointed out that Jesus needs everybody, right? All the earth is being called to Jesus. Today, my great revelation of this week is that Jesus needs everybody, and Jesus needs all of you. Did I just repeat myself?
No.
You got that, didn't you? Jesus needs everybody, plural. Jesus needs all of you, singular. I kind of like that one. Sometimes I got to remember to copyright these little phrases. Remember when the Chicago Bulls were winning all those championships? You know that guy who came up with the phrase three-peat? Remember that? He made $1 million on that. You put those two words together, he made $1 million. What Jesus needs is all of you. Look at the gospel story again. It's that God is asking nothing less of Mary and Joseph than to give their all to his son. From Mary, nothing less than total devotion, and much the same from Jesus. They're both asked to give up any chance of approaching marriage in that normal and customary way. Of course, what is normal and customary anymore? Often scholars go to great length to talk about how God brought Jesus into the world in this scandalous manner. Once upon a time, we would call it scandalous. Today, barely a shoulder shrug, right? But Mary and Joseph are being asked to give up something. They're being asked to give up that courtship, that marriage, that entering into life on their terms. They're going to enter into marriage now on God's terms. Give it all to Jesus. Which is, I think about it, it's what I discovered being a parent. How many of you are parents here? Just about everybody, except for a couple of children. And when we become parents, what we discover is that suddenly all of us is now devoted to our children, isn't it? Good parents are parents who give it all to their children. Now I take it a step further. I remember how Jesus in a parable said, just as you did it to the one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. So I remember that Jesus' story is every child's story. And for adults, Christmas is time to reflect on our service to the world. Adults, as we approach Christmas, we're to put our feet in the sandals of Mary and Joseph, aren't we? We're to be looking at every child as if that child was the Christ child. And I think this church does that. You know how the Christian church conquered Rome? This question I came across this week. Some people say it's because the emperor became a Christian and brought the faith to people. But I don't think it happened quite that way. Someone suggested that this is how it happened. That one reason why the church defeated Rome in only a couple of hundred years. Again, the church was planted in Rome about the middle of the first century. And over the course of a couple of centuries, it became the state religion of Rome. So it says, one reason why the church defeated Rome in only a couple of hundred years without ever firing a shot is the disruptive, active, and near presence of God in Jesus Christ. Rome worshiped power, struggle, and force. But the church early on was noted, even by its critics, for the way it drew no distinction between rich and poor, for the way it worked among the sick. The church was known for its open-handed generosity toward the needs of others, even others who were not Christians. It says by the year 200 AD, it was pretty well documented that the Christians of Rome were feeding as many as 20,000 of that city's poor. 20,000. Just pause there for a moment. We put together 10 food baskets this Christmas. It took us a few weeks to do that, and good people, and it's good effort. But I'm thinking now, what kind of mission had the church developed in that one city by that time to be able to feed 20,000 people on a regular basis? Think about how that happened. And again, imagine how big the church in Rome must have been to pull that much mission together. How can you even demean that kind of mission? The Christian movement in Rome began as a barely tolerated fringe group that slowly won people's hearts, growing to the point where it could reach out to 20,000 people and feed them. How did they do that? I think they did it by treating every child of God, every person as a child of God. And if we do that, if we treat everybody we meet as a child of God, we're going to win the world. Same way that they won Rome. Just treat every person you meet as a child of God. Now I'm wondering, what's happened? We've had 2,000 years to do this, to reach out. What's gotten in the way? What's prevented us from just taking over the entire world for Christ? And I wonder what it is that's gotten in our way. Could it be that we sometimes fail to treat everybody the way God would have us treat a child of God? Here's a thought for you. How many angry words does it take to undo your good deeds? One angry word. Yeah. I wonder if we in the church are setting the better example, or do we sometimes make it all too easy for the world to point the finger at us and say, those Christians, they talk a good game, but push come to shove, they're just like the rest of us. We talk a lot about sacrifice, giving our all for Jesus, and some are tempted to wonder, what do I get out of it? Maybe that's when it's good just to remember we've already got it. Right? The gift has been given before the work was assigned. How many places do you get paid like that? Jesus gave us the gift and then called us to serve, and his work is not long, neither is it hard. All God asked of Mary and Joseph was what? One lifetime. What's one lifetime in the face of eternity? That's the gift that we contemplate at Christmas. You know, you can feel sorrow, concern of Mary and Joseph in their story, which ended long ago, but let's ask them how they're doing now. Mary and Joseph, how's it going up there in heaven? I'm guessing pretty good. I'm guessing they'd say something like, great, look forward to having you join us here someday. That's really all I've got to say this Sunday morning. Just remember, Jesus has already given you the gift, and watch us to see how you use it. Go out this day and treat everybody you meet as a child of God and see if we can win the world. We will receive an offering on this Sunday morning, and if I have an usher or two to help me pass out the plates, we'll do that.